I've always been reckless. Some people are born with common sense, with fear in their bones, with that instinct that warns them to stay out of danger. Not me. I was born with sticky fingers and a cocky grin. Stealing wasn't just survival for me, it was a thrill. The rush of slipping something valuable into my pocket, the heartbeat that thundered in my chest as I walked away unnoticed, that was my drug. I liked playing with fire, and I'd always believed I'd never get burned. That night, I was cockier than usual. The streets were quiet, a heavy fog curling around the lamps like ghosts, and the city's nightlife was just starting to wake. My eyes caught the glint of a man's watch, expensive, gold, a little too flashy for someone wandering alone. I didn't think twice. My fingers itched, and before I knew it, the watch was mine, tucked neatly away as I disappeared into a narrow alley. That was my first mistake. The second mistake was not realizing whose alley I'd just slipped into. The place was darker than it should have been. Trash cans lined the walls, shadows clung to every corner, and there was a strange stillness in the air. The kind that presses down on your shoulders, warning you that you're not supposed to be there. I should have turned back, but pride made me keep going. That's when I heard footsteps. At first, I thought it was just a drunk stumbling home. But the sound was too heavy, too synchronized. More than one pair of boots. I sped up, but so did they. By the time I turned, they were already blocking the exit. 3 men, dressed in black suits, shoulders broad and faces sharp. They weren't the type to blend in. They looked like wolves sent to hunt. Their eyes locked on me, cold and sharp, and in that instant, I knew. My heart skipped a beat. I wasn't stupid enough to mistake them for anything else. Everyone in the city whispered about them. The syndicate that owned the streets, the one name everyone avoided. And I had just waltzed right into their jaws. "Where do you think you're going, kid?" one of them sneered. I tried to play it cool, flashing my trademark smirk. "Just passing through. Don't mind me." Passing through. Another stepped closer, his gaze dropping to my pocket. "That's a nice watch you've got there. Where'd you get it?" Shit. My fingers clenched around the stolen prize. I should have run before they cornered me, but now it was too late. I bolted anyway. My legs pumped, adrenaline surging, but I barely made it 3 steps before a hand like steel clamped onto the back of my jacket. I was yanked off balance, slammed hard against the wall. Pain exploded across my shoulder as my face scraped brick. "Got yourself a little thief," one of them growled. They didn't beat me. Not yet. Instead, they hauled me up like I weighed nothing, dragging me out of the alley and toward a sleek black car waiting at the curb. My struggles meant nothing. Their grip was iron, their movements precise, like they'd done this 100 times before. Panic clawed at my chest, but I refused to let them see it. I bit back curses, even as they shoved me into the back seat, one on each side to box me in. The car roared to life, and we sped away from the familiar streets I knew. I didn't ask where we were going. I already knew. The mansion was everything the rumors promised, grand, cold, terrifying. Its iron gates opened like the jaws of some beast, swallowing us whole as the car rolled up a long driveway lined with perfectly trimmed hedges. The house itself loomed above me when I was dragged inside. Marble floors, chandeliers dripping crystals, shadows in every corner. I was shoved into a large room, the air heavy with smoke and leather. My knees hit the carpet as they forced me down. I wanted to spit, to curse them out, but the weight of the place pressed hard against my lungs. And then I felt it. A presence. The click of polished shoes echoed across the floor. Slow, deliberate, powerful. My pulse hammered as I raised my head. He stood before me. The mob boss. I had never seen him before, but I didn't need an introduction. His presence spoke louder than any name. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his tailored suit hugging every line of strength beneath. His dark hair was slicked back, his jaw sharp, his eyes. God, those eyes. Cold. Piercing. Like he could strip me bare with just a glance. The room seemed to bend around him, the air thicker, heavier. He didn't need to raise his voice. His silence was enough to command the entire world. "So," he said at last, his voice deep, smooth, yet laced with steel. "This is the little rat who thought he could steal from my streets." I swallowed hard, forcing my chin up. Didn't know they were yours. One of the men holding me hissed. Show respect. Leave him, the boss cut in, his tone sharp, final. They obeyed instantly, stepping back, though their glares burned holes in me. The boss moved closer, each step deliberate, like a predator stalking prey. He stopped just inches away, towering over me. I should have bowed my head, begged for mercy, but something reckless inside me refused. I met his gaze head-on. His lips curved slightly, though it wasn't a smile. More like amusement laced with danger. You've got fire, he murmured. Most people tremble when they face me. But you, his eyes narrowed. You glare back. My chest heaved, but I kept my glare steady. I don't scare easy. Is that so? His voice dropped lower, a growl that curled around my spine. Then perhaps I should teach you the meaning of fear. The tension crackled between us, thick enough to choke on. He leaned closer, his breath brushing my ear as he whispered, or maybe, his tone shifted, darker, sharper. I'll enjoy breaking you. My heart slammed against my ribs, fear and defiance clashing violently inside me. Every instinct screamed at me to look away, to submit. But I didn't. I couldn't. I met his eyes and let him see it. The fire, the refusal, the unspoken challenge. And that's when I saw it. A flicker. Barely there but real. Interest. Something dangerous had been sparked. And in that moment I knew I wasn't walking out of this mansion the same. When I first met his eyes in that mansion, I thought I was staring at death itself. Any sane man would have dropped to his knees, begged, promised anything just to walk away alive. But me? My pride wouldn't let me bend. That's probably why he didn't kill me right then. No, he wanted to break me first. The mob boss stood in front of me, his presence so sharp it felt like knives pressed against my skin. His men waited silently along the walls, ready to follow his orders without question. My knees were still on the carpet from when they shoved me down, but I forced myself to rise, refusing to look small in front of him. His gaze dropped to my movement, slow, assessing. Bold, he murmured. But foolish. I swallowed the lump in my throat and smirked, though my stomach was twisted in knots. What's the fun in being careful? His head tilted slightly, as if I were a puzzle he was deciding whether to smash or play with. Then, with a flick of his hand, he dismissed the men. They bowed and slipped out, leaving just the two of us in the heavy silence of the room. I thought I'd feel relief without them watching, but instead, the tension grew worse. My pulse raced, my palms damp, my chest tight. Do you know what happens to people who steal from me? He asked, his voice low, almost calm. Let me guess, I shot back. You don't give them a pat on the head. His lips curved, but it wasn't a smile. It was hunger. Dangerous, sharp hunger. You talk too much. Then, before I could react, his hand shot out and gripped my jaw, hard enough to bruise. He tilted my head back, forcing me to meet his eyes. The strength in his grip was terrifying. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly. You should be begging, he said softly, though the edge in his tone cut like glass. But instead you glare at me. You defy me. Do you think that makes you strong? My pride burned hot. Stronger than kneeling like a dog. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. His eyes darkened, the faintest spark of excitement flickering there, and I realized I'd just poured gasoline on a fire. His hand released my jaw only to shove me backward. I stumbled, nearly falling, but before I could steady myself, he grabbed me by the collar and slammed me against the wall. The impact rattled my bones. His body was close, towering over mine, his breath hot against my face. Careful, he growled. Your tongue will get you hurt. Fear coiled in my stomach, but alongside it came something else. Heat. My body betrayed me, the adrenaline mixing with a strange rush I couldn't explain. I hated it. Hated how close he was. Hated that my heart wasn't just racing in fear, but in something else. He noticed. Of course he did. His eyes flicked down, sharp as a blade, catching the subtle changes in my breathing, the tension in my stance. A slow, wicked smile spread across his lips. So, he murmured, his voice brushing my ear. Even rats can be tempted. I'm not, I started, but he cut me off by pressing his hand flat against my chest. Not gently, firm, heavy, pinning me in place. You'll learn to follow orders, he said, each word deliberate. One way or another. The humiliation stung sharper than any blow. He wasn't just threatening me, he was stripping me of control. His hand slid down slowly, deliberately, until it rested just at my belt. My entire body went rigid, my breath catching. Don't touch me, I snapped, though my voice cracked with more than anger. His eyes gleamed. You don't get to command me. In this room, you obey. His thumb brushed the edge of my waistband, teasing, testing. My fists clenched, every nerve in my body on fire. I wanted to shove him off, to spit in his face, but my body betrayed me again. Heat pooled low in my stomach, a flush creeping across my skin. He felt it. He knew. Interesting, he said, his smirk deepening. You resist with your mouth, but your body, it tells me the truth. Shame hit me like a wave, hot and suffocating. Shut up, I hissed, but the tremor in my voice ruined the effect. He chuckled darkly, his breath ghosting across my cheek. No, you'll shut up, and you'll listen. His hand gripped my chin again, forcing my face upward. His eyes bore into mine, sharp, unrelenting, daring me to look away. Spread your legs, he ordered softly. Rage burned through me. Go to hell. His smile widened, wolfish, predatory. I like it when they fight. He pressed harder against me, his weight unmovable, his command heavier than chains. My body trembled, not entirely from fear. It disgusted me how much the heat between us twisted my insides, how humiliation mixed with desire until I couldn't tell them apart. I won't break, I whispered, though even I didn't sound convinced. You already are, he said, his tone like velvet laced with knives. And then he kissed me. Not soft, not tender. It was forceful, claiming, his lips crushing mine as if he owned them. I fought back at first, twisting my head, biting his lip hard enough to taste blood. He only growled in response, gripping me tighter, pushing harder, until my resistance faltered. The room spun, the heat overwhelming, every nerve lit on fire. My body betrayed me again, my lips parted, my breath quickened, my fists unclenched. I hated it, hated him, hated myself for giving in even for a second. But God, I couldn't stop. When he finally pulled back, his eyes blazed with victory. My lips tingled, my chest heaved, and I knew he could see it all. The shame, the confusion, the reluctant hunger I couldn't hide. You see, he whispered, his voice low and dangerous. You can glare all you want, but in the end, you'll obey. I wanted to scream, to curse him, to deny it all. But my voice was gone, stolen by the fire still burning in my chest. And deep down I knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The first night in his mansion stretched endlessly, each tick of the clock echoing like footsteps in my head. I wasn't chained to the wall or locked in a dungeon. No, he was more clever than that. My prison was velvet curtains, silk sheets, and locked doors guarded by men who never blinked. I tried to escape, of course. On the second day, when they brought me food and left the door cracked for only a second, I bolted. I sprinted down hallways, my bare feet slapping against marble, my lungs burning with hope. I even made it to the back garden. For a moment, freedom brushed against my fingertips. But then he was there. The mob boss didn't run. He didn't need to. He appeared at the end of the garden path, his hands in his pockets, his eyes calm, cold, almost amused. His men didn't even move. It was just him, standing like a wall I could never get past. I froze. My body betrayed me again, trembling not from exhaustion but from the weight of his gaze. He tilted his head, and with a voice as soft as silk, he said, "Run again, and I'll make sure you regret it." I should have spat in his face, cursed him, clawed at the chance to fight. But all I did was lower my head, my chest tight with shame. That was the first time I realized I wasn't just trapped by walls and locks. I was trapped by him. Days turned into a blur. He didn't visit every hour, but when he did, the air in the room shifted instantly. Sometimes he came with fire in his eyes, pulling me close just to whisper orders, just to see me resist. Sometimes he pushed me, humiliated me, forced me to obey in small ways that burned my pride. But other times, he was different. I'll never forget the evening he brought me a glass of whiskey and sat across from me, watching in silence. I didn't touch it at first, suspicious. He chuckled, took a sip himself, then slid it back to me. "I don't poison those I want to keep," he said. The words rattled me more than threats ever could. Those I want to keep. That night, he didn't touch me. He didn't order me to spread my legs or bow my head. He just sat there, drinking, his gaze heavy but not cruel. And strangely, it unsettled me more than his punishments, because it felt almost human. The confusion tore at me. I hated him, hated his control, his games, his arrogance. But when he leaned close, when his voice dipped into that dangerous growl, my body lit up in ways I couldn't control. Fear twisted into desire until I couldn't tell one from the other. One night, when he caught me staring too long, he smirked. "You're starting to crave it, aren't you?" I snapped, "You're sick." His hand gripped my jaw, tilting my face up. "And you're mine." The worst part? My body trembled at the word mine. Every encounter grew hotter, sharper. He pushed me against walls, whispered commands that made my skin burn, kissed me until I forgot my own name. I fought back every time, snapping, biting, shoving, but my resistance was losing ground. One night, he caught my wrists in one hand, pinning them above my head as he pressed me against the bed. His weight bore down on me, his breath ragged, his eyes blazing with something between hunger and obsession. "You make me lose control," he muttered, his voice thick with something almost vulnerable. That admission shocked me. Him, this untouchable king, feared by the city, confessing he was losing control because of me. For a moment, the roles twisted. His grip was still firm, his dominance undeniable, but in his eyes, I saw it, a flicker of weakness. And it terrified me more than anything else. I started questioning myself in the quiet hours. Did I truly want freedom? If the doors swung open tomorrow, if his men stepped aside, would I run? I told myself I would. That I longed for the streets, for the chaos of the outside world, for the life I knew before him. But when I pictured running, something in my chest tightened. Because I wasn't just running from a prison. I'd be running from him. And some dark, twisted part of me wasn't sure it wanted to. The turning point came one rainy night. The storm raged outside, thunder shaking the windows. I sat by the fire, pretending to ignore the guards posted outside the locked door, when he entered. He looked different that night. His jacket was gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up, his hair slightly damp as if he'd just come from the storm. His eyes were sharper than usual, but there was something tired in them too. Without a word, he sat beside me. Close. Too close. The firelight painted his features in gold and shadow. For a while, he said nothing. Just sat there watching the flames. Finally, I couldn't take it. "Why me?" I asked. My voice cracked, raw with frustration. "Out of all the people you could break, why me?" His eyes slid to mine, and for the first time, I saw something that wasn't hunger or cruelty. Something quieter. "Because you fight," he said simply. "Everyone else bows. You glare. You resist. You make me feel," he trailed off, his jaw clenching as if the words themselves were too dangerous. The silence stretched, heavy and charged. My chest ached. I should have hated him more for saying that. I should have spit in his face. But instead, my heart pounded, my throat tight, my body leaning ever so slightly toward him. When he kissed me this time, it wasn't brutal. It wasn't a command. It was slow. Searching. Almost tender. And God help me, I kissed him back. From that night forward, the lines blurred completely. He was still cruel, still commanding, still twisted with his dominance. But now there were moments of softness, rare and fleeting, that pierced deeper than any order. I was chained by more than walls now. I was chained by him. By the way his touch made me burn, by the way his rare tenderness made me ache. And in the quiet of the night, staring at the ceiling, I finally admitted the truth I'd been running from. I didn't know if I wanted freedom anymore. Because maybe, just maybe, I wanted him. The night everything broke open started like any other. I was sitting by the window in my room, my cage, though it felt less like one now, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The mansion was quiet, but not peaceful. Quiet in the way a lion's den is quiet, tense, coiled, waiting to spring. He hadn't come to see me that day. Normally, by evening, I'd feel his presence before I even heard his footsteps. Sometimes he came to torment me, sometimes to kiss me, sometimes both. But tonight, nothing. The silence stretched too long, and unease gnawed at my chest. That's when I heard it. Not footsteps. Not his calm, deliberate tread. But shouting. Shattering glass. The sharp crack of gunfire. My blood ran cold. I leapt from the chair, heart hammering, straining to hear. More gunshots, closer this time. The guards outside my door barked into radios, their voices tight with urgency. Then, silence. And then the door burst open. But it wasn't him. It was one of his men, staggering, blood soaking his shirt. He collapsed halfway into the room, eyes wild. "They're here," he gasped. "Rival gang, ambush." His body went limp before he could finish. My stomach lurched. Rival gang. Ambush. They weren't just here for blood. They were here to tear everything down, to prove the boss wasn't invincible. And I was caught in the middle. For the first time since I'd stepped into this mansion, the door wasn't locked. It hung open, chaos echoing beyond. My chance. My freedom. My legs trembled as I stepped toward it. The hallway stretched before me, full of smoke and shadows. If I ran now, I could disappear into the night. No more guards. No more chains. No more him. But as I took another step, another sound cut through the chaos. His voice. Low, sharp, commanding, even above the storm of gunfire. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed at me to run, to take the chance I'd dreamed of since the beginning. But my body moved the other way. Toward him. The mansion was a war zone. Shouts bounced off the marble walls. Men in black suits traded bullets with intruders masked in red. Blood smeared the once perfect floors. My bare feet slipped as I ran, but I didn't stop. And then I saw him. The mob boss stood at the center of it all, unshaken, a gun in one hand and a blade in the other. His suit was torn, blood streaking down his arm, but his presence was unbroken. He barked orders, shot without hesitation, cut down anyone who dared step too close. He was fire and steel, terrifying and magnificent all at once. But there were too many of them. The rival gang had come prepared, swarming like wolves. For the first time, I saw it, he wasn't untouchable. He was human. And he might lose. Something inside me snapped. Without thinking, I grabbed the fallen guard's weapon and ran into the fray. My hands shook, my chest thundered, but I aimed and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out, striking a man who had been about to strike the boss from behind. He turned, eyes wide, locking onto me. For a heartbeat, the world froze. His gaze seared into mine, shock and something deeper flickering there. Then the fight roared back to life. I stayed at his side. I don't know why. Survival, maybe. Madness, probably. Or maybe it was the truth I'd been too afraid to face. I couldn't let him fall. Not to them. Not to anyone. We fought back to back, every second a blur of violence and desperation. He moved like a predator, lethal and precise, while I fought like a cornered animal, wild and reckless. Blood sprayed, bodies fell, and through it all, his presence anchored me. When the last of the invaders fled into the night, the mansion was unrecognizable. Smoke curled from broken chandeliers. The floor was littered with corpses. My chest heaved, my arms ached, but I was still standing. So was he. He turned to me slowly, his chest rising and falling, his shirt soaked in blood, his and others. His eyes blazed as they met mine. "You," his voice was hoarse, rough with exhaustion and something else. "You stayed." I dropped the gun, my hands trembling. "Don't make me regret it." For the first time since I'd met him, his composure cracked. A raw, unguarded laugh escaped him, low, broken, but real. He stepped closer, his blood-stained hand cupping the back of my neck. His forehead pressed against mine, hot and heavy, grounding me. You could have run, he whispered. But you didn't. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Maybe I'm the foolish one. His grip tightened, his voice breaking into a growl. No. You're mine. And then he kissed me. It wasn't the cruel, forceful kiss of before. It wasn't even the searching tenderness from the fire-lit night. It was desperate, fierce. A collision of blood and sweat and survival. His lips claimed me, and this time, I didn't fight. I kissed him back, hard, clinging to him like he was the only thing keeping me alive. Because maybe he was. Later, when the mansion was silent again, when the bodies had been cleared and the fires doused, I sat on the bed, staring at the man who had turned my world inside out. He leaned against the wall, bandaging his arm himself, his shirt discarded, his body bruised but unbroken. His eyes never left me. Finally he spoke. I should have let you go the night you stole from me. I met his gaze, my chest aching. And I should have run when I had the chance. Silence stretched between us, heavy with everything unspoken. Then he crossed the room, slow and deliberate, until he stood before me. He didn't grab me, didn't force me. He just looked down, his eyes softer than I'd ever seen them. You're not my prisoner anymore, he said quietly. But don't fool yourself. You'll never escape me. Not here. He tapped his chest, then mine. And God help me, I didn't want to. I reached for him, pulling him down into another kiss, hungry, raw, full of everything we'd fought against and everything we couldn't deny. His hands tangled in my hair, mine dug into his back, and for the first time, there were no chains. No commands. Only devotion. Twisted, dangerous, undeniable. Two men bound not by walls, but by something far stronger. Loyalty. And maybe, just maybe, that was the most dangerous trap of all.